All right, let's talk about something you use literally every single day, but probably never see. We're going to pull back the curtain on the API. This thing, it's the secret engine behind pretty much everything you do online. I mean, think about it. You open your Uber app and boom, it knows exactly where your car is. Or you're on a travel site and it pulls flight prices from what? Dozens of airlines all at once? How does that even happen? It feels like all this information from all these different places just magically appears on your screen. Well, it feels like magic, but it's not. It's an API. That's it. That's the answer. API. It's basically the secret language that lets all these different apps and services talk to each other. Okay, so what exactly is an API? Let's break it down. We're calling it the digital middleman. And trust me, that description is spot on. It's actually a lot simpler than it sounds. So the full name is Application Programming Interface. Big words, right? But forget the jargon. All you really need to get is that an API is just a set of rules. It's like a contract. You give it a very specific request, and you get a very predictable response back. It's that simple, predictable exchange that makes the whole digital world go round. And that middleman idea is absolutely crucial. It's what allows all this communication to happen securely and efficiently, right? The Uber app doesn't need to know all the messy, complicated code inside Google Maps, and Google Maps definitely doesn't need access to Uber's private user data. The API just handles that one specific conversation between them. To really make this click, let's use an analogy pretty much everyone can understand. Okay, so picture this. You're at a restaurant, you're the customer, you look at the menu and you decide what you want. Way in the back, you have the kitchen. That's the system, right? It has all the ingredients, it knows how to cook everything, but there's a big wall between you and the kitchen. You can't just stroll in there and start grabbing ingredients, and the chef can't read your mind to know you want a burger. There's a missing link. And that missing link, the API, is the waiter. The waiter takes your specific order, that's your request, from the menu, goes to the kitchen, and communicates it in a way the kitchen understands. A little while later, the waiter comes back with your food. That's the response. See? You don't need to know how to cook, and the kitchen doesn't need to know who you are. The waiter handles that whole exchange perfectly. Okay, so if the API is the waiter, let's take that idea and apply it to a real-world example, like Uber. To really get how Uber delivers you a ride, we've got to talk about the difference between what you see on your phone and the massive engine running in the background. Think of pretty much any app like an iceberg. What you see and touch, the map, the buttons, all the nice visuals, that's the front end. It's just the tip of the iceberg. But the real power, the back end, is that giant, invisible part underwater. That's the engine room where all the heavy lifting, the data processing, and the real logic happens. The front end's only job is to send your requests down to that powerful back end to do the work. So when you pull up Uber, that slick map you're looking at is the front end. But what's really going on is that your app is making all these calls to a bunch of different back-end APIs. It's talking to an API to find nearby drivers, another one to figure out the price and the route, a totally different one to process your payment. You get the idea. The app on your phone is really just a fancy remote control for all these invisible services working behind the scenes. All right, so we've established that APIs are these digital middlemen. But just like in the real world, not all middlemen do the same job. It turns out APIs come in a few different flavors, and it really just depends on who's allowed to use them. First up, you've got public APIs. This is when a company, like Google, says, hey, developers, here are the rules to talk to YouTube. Go build something cool with it. So another app could use the YouTube API to let you search for videos right inside their app. They don't have to build their own YouTube. They just borrow its power through the API. Then you have the total opposite, private APIs. These are strictly for internal use. I mean, think about a massive company like Amazon. It's not one giant computer program. It's tons of different systems, one for inventory, one for payments, another for shipping. Private APIs are the secret language they use to get all those internal systems to talk to each other and work together smoothly. And last but not least, there are code APIs. Now, these are a little different. They're not about two big apps talking over the internet. These are more like shortcuts built right into a programming language. So a programmer doesn't have to write a whole bunch of complicated code just to sort a list of names. They can just use the .sort function. That function is an API. It's a simple command that hides a whole lot of complexity. Okay, so we've seen what they are, we've seen how they work. So what? What's the big picture here? Why does any of this matter to you? Well, here are the key takeaways. At the end of the day, APIs are the middlemen, the waiters, the translators that make our modern digital world even possible. They're the secure bridge between the simple apps you use every day, the front end, and the super powerful engines, the back end, that make them work. And we've seen they come in public, private, and code-level flavors to get all sorts of jobs done. And this quote really nails it. Almost every digital service you use, social media, online shopping, banking, you name it, is just a bunch of APIs all working together. The internet today isn't a bunch of separate websites anymore. It's this giant, tangled web of services all talking to each other. And APIs, they're the unsung heroes that make it all happen. So, I'm going to leave you with a little challenge. Now that you can kind of see them, where are you going to spot APIs at work today? Because the next time you check the weather, or book a flight, or even just see a Google map inside a restaurant's website, pause for a second. That's not magic. That's an API doing its job. And now that you know what you're looking for, I promise you're going to start seeing them absolutely every